Brian Chung, an assistant professor here in Ethnic Studies, and I'm just going to introduce Dr. Masahide, or aka Dr. Dread, as some of you guys might know him. So I'm just going to say a few things. As I said a second ago, I'm really excited. I got to know Dr. Kato over the last year or so, just chit-chatting about stuff. So he's a lecturer in ethnic studies and political science here at UH Mānoa. He also got his PhD here at UH Mānoa as well. And he's currently teaching Ethnic Studies 397, Multiethnic Popular Culture, with an emphasis on hip hop. And it's a class that he created for our department. It's going awesome, as I've been hearing from a lot of the students. So his publications include From Kung Fu to Hip Hop, Globalization, Revolution, and Popular Culture, which came out as SUNY Press in 2007. And Dr. Kato has been associated with Honolulu's underground hip hop artists since the 1990s, when he was a KTUH DJ. And he also joined the, how do you pronounce it?
Moilla Pillaz.
Yeah, the Dugout Studio crew in 2005, where he's learned how to make beats. I'm sure some of you guys have heard him before. But please join me in welcoming Dr. Kato. And
thank you for coming today. I'd like to express my special mahalo to Ethnic Studies, from chair to secretary to senior faculty, junior faculty, students, student workers, and of course Chase, including this Ethnic Studies, for supporting me for who I am, what I do in this department. Thank you very much. So what I'm going to do is 3 parts. The first part will be the basic beat from the Bronx, Africanist aesthetic. Then go into the Indigenous aesthetic, and then exit with Earth aesthetic. So that's the sort of plan. And it sort of traces my autoethnographic journey into the culture of hip hop. So the Bronx is the beginning of hip hop culture, and there's no question about it. The thing is, it's a multicultural involvement. So it wasn't just African Americans, but Puerto Ricans and others, like for instance Filipinos. One of the first MCs was Filipino American. So the multicultural participation, but the foundation is African aesthetic. And the way I see it is I see it as an aesthetic paradigm. So it's not necessarily ethnicity. So anybody can actually participate in this paradigm, in the foundation of this culture. And the socio-historical contextualization of the birth of hip-hop goes back to the late 60s and early 70s, during the time of post-industrialization, deindustrialization in New York City, where everything was suburban centric. So the whole transportation system was laid down based on the suburban commuters' convenience. And also this is the time when the manufacturing evacuated from the inner city to the suburb before they went to the foreign countries or export processing zone. Well, just touching it, it's changing.
It's the smart board.
Smart board. I'm not too smart, so
That's my problem too.
But anyway, so one of the things was a cross Bronx expressway that destroyed the Bronx neighborhood. So you have this situation where the abandoned building, burned buildings because those slumlords trying to get the insurance money by having arsonists to burn the buildings. So you can see this like a sort of bombing of Iraq situation over there. And also Marshall Joyner mentioned this is basically to destroy the voting bloc that could potentially support this alternative candidates. So that was what's happening. So the youth who grew up in this environment, according to Trisha Rose, they use whatever is available in this situation. So they have the technology, they have the space to basically make these microscopic responses to things that appear in the landscapes. So we can say that this hip hop, the birth of hip hop, is based on this micro-political engagement with the post-industrialization through a creative use of available technology and resources. So this is a socio-historical contextualization. Now we get into the Africanist aesthetic and hip hop subjectivity. This is the question that I was using for my class. Now, how does Osmare define the fundamental principle of Africanist aesthetic in contradistinction with the Western subjectivity? So she maps out this Africanist aesthetic in a schematic way. So you have on the left side, almost like corresponding to the left brain, you have this linear construction of reality based on the Western subjectivity. So you have this, I think, therefore I am, René Descartes' famous axiom. And then on the other side, Africanist aesthetic is basically action is a superior mode of thought. So the thought is in action. It's in the kinetic movement. So in the hip hop, it's dynamic. So hip hop is not about contemplating, reflecting, sitting on the chair. It's getting busy. You get busy with, designing your graffiti. You get busy with sampling, crate digging. Get busy with the rhyming. So it's really a dynamic process. So on this left side, left brain, you have the dualism of mind and body, the split between mind and body, and that means the superiority of mind over body. So superiority of reason over sensuality. Whereas the Africanist subjectivity is self is examined, deconstructed, and reconstructed in the movement. So the notion of self is constant in the movement. So you can see from this, it resonates with indigenous subjectivity. So what Africanist aesthetic alludes to is basically this common ground, which is the last part of Earth aesthetic. So change is therefore an acknowledged and integral part of the Africanist performative process. So it's in a performance. And if we zoom into the subjectivity or in the African aesthetic, Descartes, I think therefore I am, she juxtaposed that with Audre Lorde's, I feel therefore I'm free. So what you have over here is a balance and unity between mind and body. So the balance between right brain and left brain, right hemisphere and left hemisphere. So this is the foundation of Africanist aesthetic, and more concrete examples of the aesthetic normal tradition, which is this whole word has this link with the divine and the human world. So whatever comes from the human's voice as a word is actually a divine connection with what's up there or what's down there. So this sacred unity between the divine and the human world. So you can see this oral culture, story, chant, and also social commentary is this griot and buru drumming from West Africa, the traditional poetry done with the music accompaniment. Or buru drumming, this was from West Africa and went to Jamaica, and it was used in the slavery days when they were allowed to do the drumming during the work time. So what happened, the buru drumming is that they would play drums and at the same time they would make this social commentary. So that turned into this Rastafarian's Nyabingi drumming. So we can have this, we still have this the link with Africa, and also Esu Elegbara or Brea Rabbit in American South, which is basically a trickster who mediates between the divine and the human world. So Osumare is basically seeing MC, the rappers, as the reincarnation of this Esu Elegbara, who sort of ambivalent figures who cross the boundary, and you cannot really catch the trickster because it's constantly in the ambivalent zone in between the betwixt. And then you have an Ethiopianist reading of the Bible. This is where we get into the sampling aesthetic, where during the slavery, some of the Africans, they were able to become minister preachers, and they can get out of slavery. One of the things they did was to reread the Bible from Ethiopianist perspective, which means they consciously look for the reference to the Ethiopia. So they will resituate Bible in African context. So right there is a sampling aesthetic. You basically pick up the fragments and reconstruct the whole. Which is happening with, for instance, Romeo Bearden's Africanist bricolage. His bricolage is different in the sense that the fragments are there already. The African Americans are fragmented by the society. segregation, discrimination, lynching, Jim Crow laws. So what Bearden did was to reconstruct those fragments into the whole, which is the opposite of Western bricolage, which is to defragment the subjectivity. So this is the Africanist sort of something aesthetic in the art. And contrafact is from the bebop, when people like Max Roach, they didn't want to pay ASCAP money for playing those pop tunes. So they changed the pop tunes to the point that nobody can recognize the original source. So you can see all those things running through the hip hop aesthetics. Now, please stop me anytime you have questions or you want to insert something. Okay, so this is not like really a rigid structure. It's, you know, non-linear, right brain kind of stuff. So now getting to the subjectivity. Individual and collective, how are those things articulated in hip hop culture? And this is the crew, this is the Rocksteady crew, and this is Crazy Legs, and all those other Ken Swift and all those members. And in a hip hop crew, there's a collectivity as crew, posse, cipher, and it's composed of individuals, and the individuals represent styles. So this individual represents style A, this is style O, smart, too smart. B, C, and then they make this synergy between them. And you have to refine your individuality, that's the game. You cannot copy this person, then you actually destroy the unity of the collectivity as crew. So, and then you're in competition with other crew. So you have to really sharpen your individuality. So this is the paradox. For the growth of the crew, for the growth of collectivity, individuality is really important. And that's actually the motor for the development of the crew, their collective artistic expression. So it's the growth and evolution comes from the constant process of stylistic innovation, which hinges on individuality. And this is, it makes a quite contrast with the capitalist subjectivity, which is based on the mass subjectivity. It's about the conformity to the collectivity by the ideology of individualism. So if you look at consumerism, branding, mass tourism, everybody thinks they're doing the individual thing, but they're actually doing this collective thing, mass subjectivity. So you can say that hip-hop subjectivity is based on the production of difference, singularity, whereas the capitalist subjectivity is based on the production of sameness and homogeneity. So you can, I'm seeing this future society in a hip-hop subjectivity or hip-hop culture. The thing is, we have to talk about this because a lot of times when we think we're talking about hip-hop culture, well, we end up talking about branding or market strategy or homophobic scrutiny of potentially non-heteronormative rapper or the forum for the misogynist expression or misogynist violence. But if you look at this subjectivity and aesthetic, none of those things are there. So we need to kind of reset the clock to this original subjectivity and aesthetic. Now we get into this my autoethnographic account of hip hop. This is KTUH. I have this pre-history, but let's just skip the pre-history. The first encounter of b-boying was the Kalihi YMCA, stuff like that. Just skip that. In 1990s, early 90s, I joined KTUH, and my initial motivation was to do this talk show with, I had a thick accent those days, but I was doing this talk show with my buddy, Doug Margolis. We are campus activists, and that was the time when the witch hunt with Hanani K Trust was happening. And all the medias, including the school media, mass media, were against her. So we had to do something about this situation. So we got the show at the KTUH. We started doing this radical talk show. And pretty soon I got burnt out. I wanted to do music and then commentary in between. So I started to do a reggae show because reggae had this social conscious message. So I started out as a Ninja Dread. That was my DJ name. And that evolved into Dr. Dread after I got my PhD. So, and then 1997, Cabot the Catalyst, he joined the KTUH. Cabot Omo is Kanaka Maori, and the 97 was Hawaiian Renaissance in KTUH. I think it was the first time Kanaka Maori was the GM, general manager. Cedric Juavete was the general manager, and Cabot was Kanaka Maori doing the hip hop. Parani Kelly, who's teaching at KCC, was doing a Hawaiian show in Orero, Hawaii. And then your cousin, Kariko Baker, he's now with the PKO, was doing the Orero Hawaii show too. So it was really a happening time those days. So I was doing a dub DJ. So dub DJ is basically instrumental reggae music. And there are certain reggae that's really popular in Hawaii, which is Don Carlos, the Waiting Souls, except Bob Marley and all that, and Barrington Levy. The commonality between those bands, the band called Roots Radics. The Roots Radics had a UK outfit called Dub Syndicate. And Dub Syndicate influenced this Bristol, the Massive Attack, drum and bass, and all those, the contemporary, basically the beat music. So Roots Radics, among other things, is really a beat-oriented reggae group. So they're really popular. And the thing about Hawaii hip hop is that in Bronx, they skip reggae. When Kool Herc showed up with the reggae music, they weren't into that. Bronx people were not reggae, please. So he played soul and funk, and that took off as a hip hop. But in Hawaii, we did reggae. So those hip hop artists got into reggae, so they would listen to my show, come to my show. So there's sort of a communication, interaction between hip hop artists and my reggae show. And what made this, the reason why I think reggae was big in Hawaii in the 90s is this common situation with Jamaica. It's an island situation. And what was happening in the 80s and 90s, you have this external economic dependency, and you have basically a structural adjustment program, which is the reduction of public spending, education, welfare, and also all those negative impacts of tourism that's happening in Hawaii. And over-representation of Native Hawaiians in the criminal justice system. So you see this commonality between the Jamaican situation and Hawaii, so people are naturally attracted to reggae. Then also the rise of grassroots movement, like Save Sunday Beach, Anti-Rail, you have Hawaiian sovereignty, Harawa Bali, Makua, Oneura, all those occupation, evictions happening. And then Hawaiian Renaissance, the second and third Hawaiian Renaissance in '93, when the centennial overthrow, the coup d'etat, and then '98, the centennial annexation. So the 90s was really a happening time. Those are sources from Noel Kennington and Trask and Aaron Soroda. So then I got really close to those guys. This is one of the first underground hip hop crew, and it was called High State. And Invisible Ink and Humarakas are their representative groups. So what happened was that what's interesting is that they're the crew members, and they're the sort of not the core group, but the peripheral members of this High State, which turned into Moilla Pillaz. I joined the crew later. I got to know those guys very well because of this Ohana catalyst. They are partners and friends. They are actually Kanaka Maori females. They are sort of mediating different scenes. So I got to know Tani Wood, and she introduced me to Tish Hanakahi, Camille Naruai, and then went to these guys. What happened was that it's Ohana style, so they started inviting me to wedding. They invited me to baby luau, so this Ohana ties become really strong. So it's not just, oh, I know those guys as a crew. No, actually we're part of Ohana. So that's what's happening in Hawaii. It's kind of unique to Hawaii. The scenes interlocked because of this Ohana relationship. So it's not just friendship, it's almost an extension of family, extended kinship. So then I did my dissertation, and then that turned into a book. And when I was working on the book manuscript, I was basically doing like house husbands. So I was taking care of my baby. And I wanted to continue the research. So I focused on graffiti because I started talking about graffiti in this book. And then I was living in Kanohe those days, so the first graffiti I seen was Wimo Mo, which is AF crew, which stands for Aloha Family. And I got really sort of sucked into this graffiti research, and I started learning about their work and their locations, and the locations were really interesting. This one is AF crew down by Spire. This is H3 overpass on Kamehameha Highway. So they know about H3. The H3 actually was based on the desecration of hair. So I started wondering, maybe these guys know. Then my wife, Laulani, threw a book on me. And if you're going to do graffiti in Hawaii, you got to read the Petroglyph book. So she gave me the book, and I started perusing it. And then boom, right here is the original Hawaiian style. This is a kipohaku between 1820s and 1860 when the kipohaku waned. There's a time that those kipohaku artists used those letters. And when the missionary came, 1920 and 23, they had actually printer. So there are certain fonts that they brought. They didn't bring variety of fonts, but then they start messing with the fonts. So this is 1820, 1860. By the time this whole missionary law sunk into the kingdom, and they can't do gathering, they can't do hula, they can't do the petroglyphs, because that's a crime during the kingdom time. It's a vagrant law. So between 20 and 60s, we have those letters popping up. So I look at this, well, because it's different from the other styles, like, LAS styles of, the Munich style or British style. There's a distinct style in Hawaiian style. So the root of this, one of the roots, is this. Then, actually, I went to ask, when I was teaching Waiya extension of LCC, my cultural consultant, I asked her, can you take me the petroglyphs? And she said, okay, if you use this for educational purpose, I'll let you. But don't disclose the location where you went. So I don't disclose the location, but she took me over there. And then I look close to this, what's happening over here? This is bruised surface. I look at it, and it's a different surface from this one. It's not just bruised. So I start doing the research. Actually, this is a microorganism living in this space. It's a colony of microorganisms. So I was blown away. Oh, hold on a minute. So this is you telling me that this is a biochemical alteration of the surface. That means it's an ancient spray paint. It's not a painting. It's a biochemical alteration, just a petrochemical alteration. So I was in this zone. This is quantum zone. And then on top of that, Fido, this is my favorite writer from Oahu. This is the airport viaduct scene from Nimitz Highway, 2009. Fido, okay, this is beautiful. What does Fido mean? So I look up the dictionary. It says it's a vegetation and growth. Oh my God, he's doing basically sustainability measures in the semiotic sphere. So reforestation essentially. Oh my God, this is deep. So then, this is the 2012. I'm looking for, I'm finishing up this paper, looking for the last piece I wanted to conclude this paper. So I found Fido, but O is missing. So what's happening? Can you pronounce this?
Fight.
Fight. Oh my God. So the thing is, this was in a Navy Marine golf course, which sits on the so-called city land, which is crown lands. This is an area of international dispute. So if he gets arrested for this, it's a federal crime. But he has to go to international court if he really wants to fight this. So this is a tradition of kauna, which is the hidden meaning. So I start to see this indigenous dimension in hip hop culture in Hawaii. So what happens is the quantum zone of consciousness where the ancient meets the future in the present time. And Greg Tate, quote, he would talk about this, hip hop can be backward looking, ancestor worship, and forward looking, innovation, improvisation, simultaneously. So that's what happened to me. I was taking notes and taking pictures of graffiti. I was taken to West Side and looking at this petroglyph. My mind was just expanded. It was not in this world. So that's what hip hop does, is to transport you to the different dimension. And then all those things happening, I was in the crew with, those are the crew members, Moilla Pillaz Dugout Studio crew. And initially I was making a dub with one of the members, I have formed. And I got dragged into this, and I was sort of participated as a musician. And with the crew, I share those findings. Look, this is what I found. And then we start talking about those things, and then, so pretty soon, they start projecting themselves as this Hawaiian rap, different from Southern Rush. And let me play you some of the, one of the tunes that they have. There's a swearing, so parental discretion is advised.
Yo, fuck all that shit, man. Motherfucking politicians and shit trying to put a positive spin on this whole sufferation, man. Just need to burn that shit down. What you gonna do when the pistol's gone? Wanna be kings and sacrificial pawns, committing acts of treason, the list goes on. So how you go to war with the gift of song? Nature of the beast trying to fix us wrong, trying to claim peace with their missiles drawn. When they gonna see that this shit beyond? So shall we go to war with the gift of song? Stories from Tahiti was performed at Makahiki. Hands that carved the tiki was fam, not ali'i. Thought this shit was freaky, missionary storm Kalihi. Howleys broke a treaty and still on the tea leaves. Sponsored by the greedy yet haunted by the thievery. Labeled us as savage, so counterfeit the deity. Postcards and capture just how they pimp the scenery. Oh God, like Mozart, he played it easily with cold hearts. That's how they stole ours from beneath our feet. My people need to eat. Some people sleep the beach. Military installation, it only gives us grief. To build tall, they shopping more, they had to dig up reef. Ain't trying to big up me, they trying to live for free. Take advantage of aloha, show you bigotry. I came in 78, my pops in 53. In 07, I dropped the gift and hope it hits DC. Have you heard about
So that's the gift of sorrow.
We used to channel it for.
So basically, they're talking about one of their friends going to war in Afghanistan. They're reflecting on the situation in Hawaii. So this is a hardcore expression of the indigeneity seen from the Kanaka Maori. Slightly different from Southern Rush. It's almost a gangster version of Southern Rush. So then, once I start teaching hip hop course, I start paying attention to other Pacific Islanders. And the similar situation is happening in Maori community in Aotearoa. For instance, the Upper Hut Posse, their sort of indigenization hip hop happened with the via Afrocentricity. So they got into this whole Malcolm X, Nation of Islam. They started to discovering themselves as Maori. And there's some common elements with the Maori oral cultural elements like patere, which is rap, wakanrongo mai, listen up, wainua is attitude. And then also the motivation for indigenization is they wanted to quell this influence of Americanism, the influence that they don't want. So for instance, the absence of misogyny in the Maori and the Pacific Islanders hip hop in the community at large. So they, for instance, IBI, this other group, they are founding 4 principles of the Maori language, the Maori people, the Marae, the community center, and then the self-government. So those are like they sort of indigenize, the hip hop actually helped them indigenize their culture. The thing is, those Maoris, the traditional culture is really rigid. So they had to come up with something to address the traditional culture and the current situation. So that's why hip hop came really helpful for them to redefine themselves as indigenous. And also, this is Australian Aboriginal MC Waiya. He talks about his sort of involvement with hip hop. So I think the reason I'm attracted to hip hop is because I come from an oral culture. We tell stories, and that is how we pass on knowledge and wealth. So like for me and my meaning, my peoples, and what we do, hip hop allows us to express story. So there's definitely this indigenous dimension in hip hop culture. So now, when I was contemplating on this, one of my international associates,
It's in the back. From the Collectors.
her name is
Und wisst ihr auch so einiges an urbanen Überzeugungen. Irgendwas liegt zurück ins Zimmerzimmer.
Daniela Mayer.
Die müssen einen Rose.
Sorry, I gotta fast forward
Die
this.
Wand leuchtet noch so schön grell, der Burner, die Gruppe.
She sent me this video of Vienna hip hop. And I saw this with my crew. And what we found is that this is like a parallel universe with Honolulu hip hop. I showed it. Good. So it's almost like a hip hop's utopia is there. Like you have like male, female, different ethnicities, children, and elderly, everybody coexists in the park. This is in Vienna. And if you have this public park situation, you have turntable, you have a space, you have hip hop. And so like, we watching this with my crew, and also you can identify somebody in this clip is somebody we have on this side is over there. Daniela Mayer is like me, who's an intellectual anthropologist involved in the scene. So I start to say, wait a minute, this is something really universal. It's almost like Earth is speaking through hip hop to us. This is something really elemental about this culture. So it exists in Vienna, Honolulu, and it's not necessarily emulation of the Bronx. They're not trying to emulate the Bronx, but it's inherent in the beat, in the rhyme, in the dance, in the writing, and it's almost like this hip hop culture is enveloping the whole Earth. Not through, well, there's a globalization definitely helping this, but there's something beyond globalization that's actually popping up almost simultaneously. So, now, so I'm coming to this Earth aesthetic. One of the things that inspired me to sort of see this universality is Fred Brathwaite. He was a host of the Yo MTV Rap. He said, well, I once read somewhere that for a culture to really be a complete culture, it should have a music, dance, and visual art. And then I realized, wow, all those things are going on. You've got the graffiti happening over here, you've got the break dancing, and you've got the DJ and MCing thing. In my head, they're all one thing. So we talking about this heterogeneous universality through this culture. So this is conjecture at this point, but probably because of hip hop elements, it's like earth elements with this avatar. It's from the avatar, like, wind and fire, so forth, wood and metal and that. So hip hop elements: sound, beat, dance, writing, rhyme, chant. And you have flow, layering, rapturing line. And this is a hip hop principle, but this flow, layering, and rapturing line can be applied to, for instance, Tongan aesthetic, where they have a rectangle and a triangle and a curved line. I was reading this analysis, hold on a minute, this sounds like flow, layering, and rapturing line. So you have these really basic elements as human being on this planet. And like this is how George Stabilas talks about sampling, which is the past, representing the present, and flow is the future. So again, this is hip hop futurism, where the past meets the future in the present time. Then I start thinking about this elementary ecology of hip hop culture, which redefine our relationship with Mother Earth. For instance, sampling and crate digging. The tighter the copyright control becomes, it creates games for the beat makers. We have to go deeper into the crate digging. We have to find something that's not copyrighted or before the copyright came up, or something really obscure, the label doesn't even exist. So we get into this deep into finding those vinyls, which essentially is a recycling and transformation of obsolete materials. So the best crate digging spot is Goodwill Outlet. That's where like, people don't even go, and the really deep crate diggers show up over there and find those good stuff. So basically it's a recycling of these obsolete materials. And aerosol writing of graffiti is the same thing, recycling of obsolete technology, which is spray paint. And basically they destroy the property-centric society, gentrification, and the developmentalism. So, and also they re-demarcate the common in a futuristic expression. Again, this is recycling and resurgence of the common public space. Same thing with the breaking, it's the re-demarcation of public space. And also expression of concepts and ideas through endosomatic energy system. So it's not like you plug into the power outlet, you just express yourself by eating food and dancing. So that's endosomatic energy system. And also emceeing, it's basically the traditional normal or like something like Lorax. That MC can be the conduit for channel for a voice for the voiceless, which includes the divine, which includes the earth. So right now, this conduit is misused for something else, but it can be if you tune into this original purpose, the principle, elements, elemental ecology. That's what those things supposed to do. So yeah, I want to dedicate this to Colin Kelly elders, and actually we composed a song called F the Epic Agent. This is my first hip hop beat that I made, and those are the crew from the Moilla Pillaz Dugout Studio. And the tricky thing was when he was murdered by the State Department agent, next day I went to the studio not knowing this happened. It was the first time I came up with a hip hop beat. And then I show it to those guys and they start talking about this murder. And I was teaching Women Community College. As I was teaching, his cousin is in my classroom. My student was his cousin. And so all those connections just emerged and we came up with this song. So I will play this tune. It's again, the views and opinions expressed in this song. Sorry, that of the artists and ethnic studies or UH Mānoa has no responsibility.
Views expressed on this recording are solely those of the artists, but by no means do we encourage or condone violence against any of its officials. As the Hawaiian subjects are bound by the treaty that ensures perpetual amity and peace between the United States and the Hawaiian Kingdom. Therefore, we submit this case to the proper international authority so that the process of deoccupation shall commence immediately.
The overthrowers barricade, aloha roadway. From the old days, Malama the plays. Check the chest and go, big boardroom plays. Get stressed, cool, get more citation. When I take the normal way home like every day. But the beast is in town on a 6-day stay. With 6 of his friends, spends his figures a day. 7-11, 99 cents, 3 nice tea. We the nicest, expensive, but murder is free. If you're not a resident with a Fed ID, feed up with hot heads in the name of the peace. Trigger happy reactions. Knuckleheads end up deceased. Still drinking around with a Big Mac and cheese. Guns out, good check, and he dropped to his knees. Put up the yellow tape, got the press on freeze. Alcohol, blood levels made it red in the streets. Wow, yeah. Fuck the APEC agents. Patriot, act civilian enslavement. 1 million men proclaim emancipation. But this is a true story, let's build a nation. Yeah, fuck the APEC agents. State Department spilling blood on the pavement. Christopher Dede killed Colin LD. Cause he's treaty-less, yet rebellious. Apex agent, alcohol flagrant.
All right, thank you very much.